Welcome to part 3 of my Birthing with Confidence online introductory antenatal course. My name is Zana and this module is a discussion about the concept of positive birth, as well as acknowledging what you might call negative birth or even traumatic birth. I do want to reassure you that this module explores ideas, concepts and philosophy. It's to get you thinking. There are no descriptions of events that you might consider traumatic. You might have all kinds of thoughts, questions or reactions arising since you watched Amelie's straightforward birth story in Module 2. If you found yourself thinking, yes, but what if, then perhaps some of those questions will be addressed here. You're always welcome to pop me an email if you want to ask me something directly, and you can contact me at info@birthingwithconfidence.co.uk. Although I'm going to talk about things, possibilities, concepts that don't always get mentioned in antenatal classes, my overall aim always remains the same. I want you to feel better about birth, as well as more skilled, equipped and confident to deal with it. As I've said before, this whole course is absolutely free to access. However, if you like what I'm doing, if you find it helpful, it would be lovely if you could show your appreciation and buy me a coffee, please. You could do so at buymeacoffee.com/Zana Parker. That's ZANAPARKER. Thank you very much. I know I've said it before, I'll say it again. Do look after yourself, particularly if you know that your emotions already feel quite close to the surface. Take your time, follow this course at your own pace, and do contact me if you have any questions or concerns, or if you need to book some one-to-one time with me. You can email me on info@birthingwithconfidence.co.uk. And do have your journal nearby so that you can add to it as you like as we go through. Amelie's birth story in Module 2 was a straightforward vaginal birth. She mostly felt strong, positive and empowered and felt able to cope well despite needing the support of her birth partner and midwife. I want to begin this module by acknowledging that having a positive mindset doesn't stop difficult births happening. You might know that I teach hypnobirthing, and some people complain that hypnobirthing sets them up to fail by being too blindly positive, and yet here I am as a hypnobirthing teacher saying that being positive doesn't guarantee straightforward birth. I do think it can help, of course, and if it's taught well in a balanced way, and if you practice what you learn in advance of birth, it can help you cope more calmly in difficult situations as well as during a straightforward birth. But positivity and hypnobirthing are not guarantees of a trouble-free birth. I'm aware that opening up to the possibility of birth feeling difficult or even traumatic might be upsetting, particularly if you're already worried about birth. I acknowledge this, but I feel it would be wrong to pretend or ignore the fact that traumatic and difficult births do happen to some people. I hear from many people who consider that their births have been traumatic. I phrase it like that deliberately, who consider, not because I don't believe them, I absolutely do believe them, but because what's considered traumatic and upsetting by one person doesn't necessarily feel that way to the next person. Exactly the same birth experience or life experience can feel tolerable and relatively easily accepted and integrated by one person, whereas the next person having exactly the same experience might feel traumatized. Trauma is defined by how we feel in response to an event, not necessarily what the event was. Whatever my, your, anyone's reactions are, they're all valid. Being told that we should or shouldn't react in a particular way to something really doesn't help either. It's difficult to find a balance between complete optimism and total pessimism. What stance do you take? Do you stick your fingers in your ears and go la 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 and blank the possibility that birth will be anything other than euphoric and wonderful? Or do you decide it'll be the most awful experience ever and then at least you think you're prepared for it? Or does that become a self-fulfilling prophecy? I'd suggest that any all or nothing type stance isn't particularly healthy or helpful. but I know it's hard to balance hope versus fear, the unknown versus a need to plan and know, optimism versus pessimism. The challenge facing anyone having a baby today is to decide, how do you plan so you have all bases covered? One step on that journey may be to build your confidence in being able to cope, deal with, keep your head above water in difficult or challenging circumstances, and acknowledge that sometimes we need to ask for and accept help. I'm hoping that by offering this different from your usual antenatal course type slant on things, that you'll feel more able to examine, acknowledge, and speak your own truth about how you feel and what's important to you. Now, I know these last couple of slides have felt like a little bit of a rant, but I feel really strongly that our feelings and our reactions are really important and really need to be valued. I hope I'm giving you some food for thought, and I hope that you're not feeling more anxious due to my ramblings. Having just said that a positive mindset doesn't bring guarantees, it is also generally true that if you surround yourself with fear and scary birth stories, that you will create more fear or worry, and that can have a direct effect on the birth process. Fear stifles the production of labour hormones, and we will talk more about that in a later module. The tricky thing is that even if you refuse to listen to scary birth stories, if you don't watch any fly-on-the-wall programs about birth or any dramas, if you scroll past social media and mainstream media stories about birth, and if you practice yoga, hypnobirthing, and positive birth affirmations every single day, it is still possible that you could have a difficult birth experience. Acknowledge that difficult births can happen, it's true, and acknowledge that yours may not be difficult. You don't know, and no one can tell you how your birth will go. Sometimes it's not always what happens, it's how you're internally resourced to be able to deal with it. As I said in part 1, that doesn't mean if birth affects you negatively, if it's upsetting or even traumatizing, that it's your fault in any way. It is absolutely not your fault. All sorts of things in our lives and in our past play a part, even when they're not obvious, and even if they don't seem directly connected. As well as that, there are always factors in the present that you can't control. For example, if you or your baby need some extra medical help. You can't control the attitudes or personalities of people looking after you. It might feel disruptive and upsetting if you can't have your planned birthplace for some reason. There are loads more things that are potentially not within your control. It's a huge skill to learn, but where you can, it's helpful to focus on what you can control and find ways to help you acknowledge and release what you can't. Here are some questions for you to mull over, and you may like to pause the video and add your thoughts and feelings to your journal. Over the years, many people have said to me that their birth didn't go to plan. Now, I'm sure that what people have generally meant by that is that my birth wasn't the straightforward birth I was hoping for. But it also got me thinking about what going to plan actually means, and it might mean completely different things for different people. So, my questions for you are, what would going to plan mean for you? What are the things that for you and for your birth are the most important? Is it the end result? Is it how you cope? Is it where you are or who's with you? Or is it something completely different? What, for you, are the things that feel imperative, and what are the things that would be nice to have? To put it another way, what are your needs and what are your wants? Now, if you'd like to add to your journal, press pause and take the time you need to consider these questions. Whatever you think might or might not happen, you can still plan for the best. In planning for the best, you'll probably practice things like breathing, relaxation, massage, and other calming techniques with your birth partner. You might experiment with techniques or ideas, movement, and positions for labour. You might read up and discuss stuff, ask questions, make informed decisions, and so on. What you learn, practice, or discover while you're planning for the best is always transferable into new or unexpected situations, at least to some extent. For most people, the thing that helps most for both the person in labour and their birth partner, because birth partners can feel emotionally challenged too, is your breathing. Now, I know this probably sounds way too simple and you might be really sceptical, so consider these points. You breathe anyway. So, in using focused breathing to manage pain better and to keep you calmer, more confident with a sense of control, you're extending, reframing, and building on what you already know. You're just going to do it with greater awareness and focus. If you understand the point of breathing and relaxation for labour, you're far more likely to use it. Focusing on the breath is physically and emotionally helpful and healthy for the mother, the birth partner, and importantly for your baby. Now, the tricky bit is finding a focus that works for you. One size doesn't fit all. And if you've struggled with getting focused breathing to work well for you in the past, maybe it's that you haven't found what works well for you yet. Calm breathing and feeling physically relaxed go hand in hand. Now, I can demonstrate that point to you by way of a simple physical exercise that I include when people do my breathing and relaxation workshops. There is no one right way to practice breathing and relaxation. Despite what some apps would have you believe, I do feel very strongly that one size doesn't fit all. You need to find what works best for you. And that's why I offer a private, personalised 2-hour breathing and relaxation workshop. And if you're interested in booking one of these, you are very welcome to contact me. To remind you of the main points arising from Amelie's birth story in part 2. Medical stages aren't usually the most helpful way to consider labour when you're the one doing it, or if you're the one alongside someone doing it. It's the physical and emotional journey of labour that will have the greatest impact. You can acknowledge how you're feeling about that now by using your journal. Your journal can become your constantly evolving personal guide to help you acknowledge your responses and feelings, as well as to help you work out where you can help yourself or where you might need someone or something to help you along your journey. Amelie's birth story is just one birth story in a nutshell. It's not your story. Parts of labour and birth are tough going, and women and birthing people have strengths. Asking for or accepting help doesn't mean you're weak, and you have not failed. It's natural to sometimes feel worried. If you find it happening more than sometimes, talk to someone you know and trust, or talk to me. You can email me questions at info@birthingwithconfidence.co.uk, and you can also book some time to talk. So, pulling everything together that we've done so far, it is complicated. Positive birth isn't just a case of practicing or engaging with some things and avoiding other things. Everyone brings their own past, and not just their birth-related past. External factors also play a role, and we can't always control these. Consider what you can control, focus on this, and aim to release the rest. A positive mindset does help, even if it doesn't bring guarantees. Less fear means less adrenaline, and that means more birthing hormones. Breathing and relaxation is good for self-calming, self-regulation, self-confidence. It's a valuable life skill as well as a labour skill. Don't fear what you don't know. You might have a great birth. Plan for the best rather than just hope for the best. Build your coping strategies and your confidence. We're now at the end of this module. I imagine that this module, as well as the birth story in part 2, might have had quite an emotional impact. Some of it's been quite heavy going, so do take care of yourself. Go and get some air, have something calming to drink, something yummy to eat, do some gentle stretching, step away from the screens for a bit. If you'd like to show your appreciation for what I'm doing, and if you're able to, then I'd be really grateful if you could please buy me a coffee. You can do so at buymeacoffee.com/Zana Parker. That's ZANAPARKER. Thank you so much. If you'd like to contact me with any questions, concerns, or if you'd like to book some one-to-one time, please email me at info@birthingwithconfidence.co.uk, and all my contact details are also on my website, birthingwithconfidence.co.uk. Our next module, Module 4, is about different birthplace choices, where you choose to have your baby and what the evidence and the statistics says about safety around different birthplace choices. And I'm also going to introduce some breathing and relaxation, and I hope you'll be able to join me there. Thank you.